Georgia at Mississippi State. It's a 6 o'clock game on ESPN. Georgia's favored by 16.5 points. That's not many points. The over-under is at like 53.5, if I read that correctly. Mississippi State already is putting out tweets of what you need to do to safely rush the field after you beat Georgia. I don't know what's going on there. This feels a little bit like Eric Ainge saying Tennessee will be fine. There's a whole bunch of weirdness happen, but Georgia's probably the best team in college football. Hammer, what say you?
Yeah, look, I don't understand. I hadn't seen the how to be safe when rushing the field tweets. That seems extremely premature and misguided, in my opinion. Look, Steven, you and I were talking pre-show offline a little bit about Mike Leach. I'm interested to see what happens after this game. If Georgia wins, like I believe they will, what he's going to say, because he's already, he's talked about evolution and how his receivers' descendants won't have hands because they can't catch. He was folding up all the receivers' chairs mid-game last week, and then he went on his fat little girlfriend rant that originated way back at Texas Tech. So, look, to me, he kind of seems at his wit's end. I know he's eccentric and, he's entertaining to say the least, but I think he's really frustrated right now with kind of how the season has turned for Mississippi State, and the absolute worst team you could possibly be playing when you're wishy-washy at best on offense is Georgia. They just took the best offense in the country in Tennessee and completely bottled them up. I know there was a little bit of weather in the second half, but I don't know how much that really mattered at the end of the day. I think the Georgia defense is on another level than most of the sport. So I really struggle to see how we're going to get a field storming in Starkville. I'll just say that.
Hey, boss man, Georgia that likes to play defense a certain kind of way, and that way happens to be the preferred defense for Mike Leach to attack. He wants you in man coverage. He's going to hit you with mesh concepts. Whoever, Jaden Wally or somebody over the middle of the field, could have a field day. So I think this game might be closer than we think. I don't think State can win the game. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I think this game could be a little bit closer than we think, boss man.
Yeah, I mean, you could be right about that. Maybe this is the week that Mississippi State's offense, finally gets it going. Maybe the defensive concepts that Georgia runs, maybe that is, favorable to Mississippi State. I just don't see it. I mean, Georgia, right? Georgia just held one of the best offense in the SEC and one of the best offenses in the country. To their lowest point total of the season, their lowest yardage total of the season, by far. So I just don't see that happening for Mississippi State, where they've, their offense has kind of been sputtering here for the last few weeks. I see where you're coming from. You may be right, and we may look up at the end of the night and see, the yardage and the receptions for Mississippi State to be solid. I just think that Georgia's going to be able to shut them down in the red zone if they get there very much. And I just don't trust this Mississippi State team right now. Hank alluded to it with the Mike Leach situation, with how frustrated he's been this season and how it's gone. I just don't think the locker room's really into it right now. I think they expected the season to go a different way, and it really hasn't. I mean, they fought last week and got a win against Auburn, but Auburn really shouldn't have been in that game at the end of the day. Looking at that beforehand, you're looking at that game on paper, Mississippi State should have waxed them. They're coming off, a week where Brian Harsin is fired. You lose a whole bunch of your coaches. We were talking last week. We didn't even know who the heck was calling plays for Auburn going into that game, and you got Cadillac Williams, who has never been a head coach. It was just a mess, and Mississippi State has to fight for their life in order to win that game. So if you're having to do that against a team like Auburn, who is down this year, and you got to play Georgia, who's number one in the country and looking every bit the team of destiny and potential, potentially winning another national championship this year. I just don't see it happening. I expect the Cowbells to be quiet pretty quickly in this one.
Yeah, and we will talk about the Auburn team here in about an hour. So hang around for that on social media. I'm sure we're going to get into that for a little bit. Hammer, what's your final thoughts and your prediction on this game? Against the spread, it's a 6.5 point line. So 38-21, that kind of feels like the right thing, but that's also right around the line. Don't you think, Hammer?
Yeah, look, I think again we've talked about it several times, even in these various previews for this week. This is a possible letdown for Georgia. They're going on the road the week after they just had a very big emotional win. Um, you know, I I just in this game I don't see Mississippi State being able to score enough, even to cover. Frankly, I think this game could be close, maybe in the first half. I think Mississippi State's defense is pretty solid, but um, Mississippi State's offense, in my opinion, at least this year, has been most effective when the run game is at least a threat. And obviously, it's Mike Leach. He's never going to rely on the run. But in the games their offense has really looked good, they've been able to get at least 5 yards of carry, let's say. Again, they're not going to hand it off much, but when they do, if they can get 5, 6, 7 yards a pop, then they can be really effective. I don't think they're going to get that on Georgia. No one gets that on Georgia. So without that, it's going to be the air raid, and I think the Georgia front seven will pin their ears back. And look, I think Stetson Bennett has seen atmospheres like this. The cowbells are not going to really bother him, I don't think. Maybe he'll flash up a call me sign again after he scores a touchdown. If Tennessee fans pass along his number to Mississippi State fans, I don't know. But I like Georgia to win and cover in this one fairly easily.
All right, boss man, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm taking all covers tonight. So here we go. Cover again for Georgia. We like to call him Tombstone Bennett over on Biscuits and SEC. Everybody calls him the mailman. We know that's his nickname. But we like Tombstone Bennett better because he just puts tombstones in the yard. I mean, that guy takes out all these different teams. He was a walk-on. He just ran through it last year all the way to a national championship, and he's doing it again this year. So I think I like him to put another tombstone in the yard after this one and take out Mississippi State. I just don't think Mississippi State has the horses this year to stick around. Hank laid it out pretty well right before me here. I just think that Georgia's defense is too good. I don't think they're going to be able to give up much. Stetson Bennett, I think, is going to be able to get going in the passing game as he did last week. And I think Georgia just overwhelms them.
Yeah, it's Tombstone Stetson Bennett against Cowboy Will Rogers, the two Biscuits and SEC nicknames of the year. That game will be at 6 o'clock Central on ESPN. Georgia is 16.5-point favorite. Over-under is at 53.5 points. Now, in about an hour, we will have a look. We'll have a look at Auburn and Texas A&M, and I don't know if you want to miss that. It should be pretty good.